Welcome to Houston Sports Talk with your host, Robert Land.
Thanks for checking into the best Houston Sports Podcast. And joining me is Bryant Browning, co-host of the Bleav and Buckeyes Podcast. And that means we're getting fantastic insight into potential Texans quarterback CJ Stroud. Great to have you on the show, Bryant. Excited to get your take on CJ.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me on, Robert. Appreciate you reaching out. Definitely always excited to talk about one of our guys, one of my guys, CJ Stroud, and what he could do. So, yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and Bryce Young is the guy that you're putting up against CJ Stroud. But just for the record, 89 touchdowns, 12 interceptions the last 2 years for Bryce. Stroud nearly identical, 85 touchdowns, 12 picks with a better completion percentage. And Bryant, I'm sure you've heard all the critiques on Stroud. Can he read defenses, go through progressions, handle the mental aspects of a pro-style offense? What did you see from CJ?
See, me out of CJ, I Bleav CJ, he's fantastic. I mean, when I just look at him and the way he performed over his couple years at Ohio State, I know it probably was a national news, CJ's coverage, but here in Columbus, when he first became a starter last year, even though he was putting up fantastic numbers, it still was rumblings around the city of like, well, is CJ the guy? Should we get someone else's shot? He's doing good, but is it a more dynamic player that he's covering up more or less type of deal? And so he kind of has some adversity around him, and he always to stay focused, stuck to his teammates, stuck to the game. And as we know on Saturdays, he typically always went out and performed really well. So I just think the world of CJ. When you hear the other coaches and other players speak about CJ, they feel the same. That he's definitely a leader of the locker room, definitely a capable guy, and I'm really excited to see him play on the next level on Sundays playing in the NFL. Hopefully, the Texans make the right decision on that.
Do you feel like that criticism is fair with him? His ability to read defenses, adapting to a pro-style offense, all those stuff that you hear about him?
I feel like that's a valid concern with any quarterback, be honest, coming out of college. For myself, going from college to the NFL, really the big difference is not physical. The big difference is mental. The big difference from the college level going on to the NFL's level. So, I mean, I know some guys are, are really naturally smarter than others. Who just kind of it's just a thing that's true. So I think for any quarterback, it's a concern. Are they going to be able to come in? Are they going to be able to learn how to, make these long play calls and then at the snap of the ball and 2.5 seconds read the defense and get the ball to the right direction? I Bleav CJ is really capable. I just feel like he has very special arm talent. And for, just once again, just the rumors and buzz about him, he's a football junkie. He really cares about the sport. He really cares about improving and being good and being a great player. So I feel like, once he gets his opportunity, no matter where he lands, he's definitely going to catch on. He's going to do the right things, and he's definitely going to put forth the right effort to give his team the best chance to win on Sundays.
Right or wrong, there's this Buckeye quarterback stigma, which I know you know about. Terrell Pryor, Dwayne Haskins, Cardale Jones, or the quick and easy comp right now to Justin Fields. Is there a huge difference between Stroud and those aforementioned guys?
I feel like the difference is when you look at CJ compared to I feel like Justin Fields is like, he had in a rough situation, but still this year he kind of, showed what he could do. And I feel like next year will be his year to really shine. But when you start looking at those other guys compared to CJ, I just feel like once again, he's just a special player with the ball in his hand. When he releases the passes, his accuracy is at another level to me. If you compare him to Cardale Jones, who's one of my guys, he went to the same high school, older than him, but I really support him. But if you look at him, he has a really big arm, really strong arm. But when it came to accuracy on certain things, he sometimes can kind of get lost and kind of start missing. And we know in the NFL, you're looking at very small windows. You're just not throwing deep balls every play because it just don't work, right? So when I look at CJ and another guy who was a Buckeye, but obviously caught his star on when once he went to LSU and became the great player that he is now, as you look at Joe Burrow. And I feel like when you watch Joe Burrow play in college, when he, really kind of started to get it, I really look at the weight of his passes, if that makes sense. Sometimes they kind of talk about the weight It's basically, the accuracy of it, but how are you pitting it in these places to make it a catchable ball? And when you look at Joe Burrow, when he kind of really got it at LSU his second year, when he broke all the records and obviously went on to win the national championship, he just had a very special ball, just a very catchable ball that his guy, like he put it in the place where his guy could tend to make a play. And at LSU at the time, his receivers was making those plays, and they went on to have a fantastic year. Same thing in the NFL. He has great, capable wide receivers around him. He put the ball in a place where they have a chance to make a play. And I feel that CJ has that same niche about his game. When you hear CJ talk, he's a very confident player. He doesn't say much to the media, but if you really kind of pin in on exactly what he's saying, he's usually confident in his abilities. If he does make an interception, sometimes he says, yeah, I threw an interception. But once I watch the film, I'm going to figure out where I need to put that ball at for the next time so I can make that play. It's not like, oh, I went the wrong way with this. Like, no, I can make that throw. I just need to, maybe practice a little bit more so I can make that throw. So I love that about him. Like I said, I just feel like when it comes to the difference between some of our big arm guys that we have from Ohio State, it's just this touch, the accuracy that CJ has, what kind of sets him above those guys, I would say.
Yeah, no question about it. That's one of my most important traits when I've watched quarterbacks try to develop over my 30 years covering the NFL. And I want to ask you about another important trait for a quarterback. But before I do, I just want a quick reminder for our viewers and listeners to support us by subscribing and commenting on YouTube. Last I checked, we're sitting a few folks away from 1,000 subscribers. So if you're a fan, get us over the top. And for those watching right now, don't forget you can always listen on the run by subscribing to our show with your favorite podcast app. And Bryant, I got to ask you, what about Stroud as a leader? What kind of personality is he? What kind of leader is CJ Stroud?
I think CJ is a fantastic leader. I mean, when it comes down to it, a lot of times, like I say, when I've done post-game shows for Ohio State, and so a lot of times I don't know him, let's say personally, but you see him in the media, he's kind of standoffish, right? I mean, he doesn't. If you watch his post game, he always comes out. He does the right thing. He thanks God for his talents. He thanks God for the ability to be there and play for the day. And then after that, he's really direct when it comes to questions. You ask him a question, he kind of answers it, with almost the least words as possible. Like, hey, I'm confident. This happened, but it is okay. We're a good team. I'm a good player. We'll be better next week. But when you hear other guys talk about CJ, which I think is always the most important thing, as far as the NFL scouts and things, they do their due diligence of not just taking what they see, but what do other people say about the player, right? And when you hear Coach Day or the wide receiver units or the running backs or just anybody in general talk about CJ, it's always just a class act, leader, always doing the right thing, lead by example, lead by doing, lead by having fun. You see him dancing in the huddles, leading dances with the team and things of that nature. I think he does whatever it takes to kind of pit himself above to let his team know that, I have your back. I have you. If we're going in this direction, I got you. If we're going in this direction, I got you. If it was a good play, great, fantastic. If it's a bad play, I'm not going to put my head down. I'm not going to shoot, throw you down, throw you under the bus. Just happen. We're going to move on and get better from there. So I feel like CJ is a fairly capable leader. And once again, I feel that, like I say, whoever takes him, wherever he lands us in the draft, I feel like that would definitely come out about him, and we'll see it on the next level as well.
And you're saying his work ethic is without question at Ohio State too, right?
Yeah, work ethic is this deal. I mean, when it comes to a quarterback, right? You have to work the study, right? The mental part of it, studying, knowing where the ball needs to go. But at the same time, you also have to work with your receivers, with your units. You guys have to have that confidence about each other. The guy's going to be in the right place, and you can get the ball there. So I Bleav CJ definitely has that work ethic. For everything I could read from him, he's definitely a guy that's just there. When it comes to a quarterback, especially in the league, in the NFL, how much time are you putting into the game, right? Literally, it's already a 9 to 5 type of situation. You're in the morning, you don't get done to the evening, but are you still taking the extra time to kind of study things to make sure that you're ready to go once the ball is snapped? And I feel for everything I'm learning or heard from CJ, he's definitely one of those guys that put the extra work in as well.
And I don't know how many people outside of Buckeye Nation know his personal story, because when CJ was 13, his dad, who was a pastor, ends up in prison on a bunch of major charges because of a drug-related incident, because of the financial burden. CJ, his mom, 5 siblings, all nearly end up homeless when he was in high school. Bryant, this is a kid that's had to battle through some major adversity.
Yeah, and that's for sure. And then another story I like to share, like you say that story, right? And the struggles he had as a family, as in, we fast forward now, you get to college, and then the NIL opened up, right? So he's just starting quarterback at Ohio State. So all he does make some money there. And from what I understand, he already bought his mother a house. Like, he took his money there. First thing he does as a leader is go home, help out mom, right? Get her somewhere safe and secure, take care of that situation. And then another story I feel that's really relevant is his recruitment to Ohio State. When CJ was, I don't know what grade he was in, junior, sophomore, junior, senior, early senior, something of that sort. Had to be a junior or sophomore, but he didn't have a lot of scholarship offers at first. Like, he was kind of under a radar player. He goes to a 707 camp, one of a 5-star receiver that's still on the team now, Julian Fleming. They end up on the same 707 team. He has a big day there. He leads that team to the championship. And this due to his leadership, that Fleming, the 5-star wide receiver at the time, he calls Coach Day like, hey, it's this quarterback out of California we need to be kind of looking into. And then from there, he gets his Ohio State offer, and kind of, he kind of gets some other big schools at the time as well. So it just kind of, the whole story around CJ and the things that he's been capable of doing, like you say, to get to college, my story on recruiting, what he does to take care of home first, college kid. I don't know about you, but in your early 20s, you know how we could be a tad bit irresponsible, right? And you see he's trying to do the right things right away, take care of home. And after securing everything, now he does make the decision to take the leap to the NFL. So I think he's definitely mentally in the right space for it. He definitely has the abilities for it. And I feel like he will definitely shine on Sundays.
Yeah, you mentioned he took some of his NIL money to buy his family a house, but also $500 gift cards for all his Ohio State teammates. And the story that I read that really says the most about him, Bryant, was a story his mom told. She said when he was in high school, she saw him closing one eye when he threw passes. And she asked why. He said one of his contact lenses wore out and he was afraid to ask for money for another pair.
Yeah, I mean, that's just let you know what type of guy he is, right? He picked the team first, right? So it was the family team. He picked them first, as you say in college. He picked them first, making sure guys have adequate funds to dress themselves properly for the season. That's just what type of guy he is, and I feel like once again, when you talk to him, you see him in the media, things of that nature. Sometimes it doesn't come out, but when you do your homework on CJ, you just kind of understand what type of guy he really is. And I feel like those are some of the tangible things you need if you want to be the face of an organization and play in the NFL. So
it's interesting. He's taken a lot of criticism at times for refusing to run out of the pocket. Everybody saw it in that Georgia game where he did get out of the pocket. But before he was even in high school, his dad and his coach were giving him differing advice from what I read. His dad wanted him to run out of the pocket more. His coach did not. Obviously, coach won out. The relationship with his dad is real interesting because it's been super difficult after, his dad gets sent to prison. But I just find that real interesting, Bryant, because, all the criticism used to be about a quarterback, especially back in the day, a black quarterback is,
right.
He runs too much. And now we accept it. You should run, but he gets criticized for doing the opposite.
Yeah, that's definitely funny. I mean, because especially as like you say, once again, one of CJ's stories, right? He's pretty athletic. If you catch him on the basketball court, he definitely, he got some moves, some lateral quickness to himself. He's easily above the rim, the dunker ball here and there, and things of that nature. So that's translates, right? That just tells you how athletic a guy is. But I don't know. I just kind of warranted this back to coaching. Like you say, the high school coach wanted him to stay in the pocket and throw the ball. Same thing out of Coach Day. I feel that sometimes he's so reluctant to run. It is almost his second nature must be that, coach wanted me to stay in the ball pocket, keep myself clean, and just kind of get the ball to the playmakers. And sometimes it didn't work out in that way. And we wanted to see more, especially myself. I was after the Michigan game, a game that we lost, like, hey, CJ might want to start taking off a little bit, some of these games when you're playing against better competition. You can't always try to find that window. You might need to just go ahead and get it yourself, step up and go. But like you said, as we know, he's definitely capable, right? I mean, we've seen him make some big runs against Georgia in his college career when he was backing up Justin Fields. His first touchdown as a Buckeyes, actually, it's like a 30-yard scamper that he scores in a backup role, I think maybe against Northwestern or something. Like, he gets in the game late and he scores a touchdown running the ball in. So, he's definitely capable. So now I feel like now it's his time to actually use. In the NFL, things get really tight really quick. So now that he's capable, one thing you can say about CJ, he seems to be pretty healthy. Obviously, don't know his medical records, but due to all the throwing and not taking some of those extra hits from trying to run the ball, it seems to be in pretty good health. So, like you say, it's a weird criticism to have for a guy, but at least we know he is capable. And it's not he don't have to be a statue in the pocket. He can actually do some things and make it extend the play to make it a bigger play, more or less.
You talked about the recruiting process for him, and I think maybe some people might have heard about this during the national championship or national semifinal game with Ohio State and Georgia, but he was the second choice. His second choice, I should say, for college was Georgia. And Kirby Smart and his staff, they come to visit the Stroud family. At the time, the family was living above a storage facility. Like I said, they were nearly homeless, and Stroud's mom was managing the storage facility. His mom told the coaches, I know this is a first, bet you've never been to a storage facility to visit a player before. And a Georgia coach said, ma'am, we've seen a lot, but never this.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just kind of goes, that's the grit of the family. The grit of the family, getting it done by any means.
Give us one final pitch for him, for the Texans fans. And let me get a final thought for you. Do you feel like, or final question for you, do you feel like he's going to fit in with the Shanahan style offense? Because you figure that's what we're getting, obviously, with our new 49ers OC, and he's been Shanahan's sort of shadow or whatever with the 49ers. So that's what you're getting with the offense this year. That's the style of play. Do you think he fits in with that? And what's your final pitch to the Texans on Stroud?
I say he definitely fits in. I mean, if you know obviously from the Shanahan branch, you understand that they're really serious about running the ball. And I feel like for a young quarterback, not being one-dimensional, being asked to go out there and throw the ball 30, 45 times a game, that you actually have another way to kind of control the ball, control the game more or less by controlling the clock, by being able to run the ball in different formations. And we know how fanatic the 49ers offense has been, one of the most creative at running the ball, and actually, and really good at it as well. So when you look at that branch, you have someone that can kind of come in and, everything is not on your shoulders right away. So CJ could definitely fit that. I feel like any quarterback stepping into the NFL, obviously, when you go that high, usually you're going to play usually right away in the first handful of games. So to have another way to score and control the game is definitely a help out a young quarterback. And for the Houston Texans, I feel that overall, when you look at CJ's body of work, you look at his athletic ability, you look at his size. I mean, especially compared to Bryce. Bryce is kind of, obviously a really good player, Heisman Trophy winner, but he's kind of smaller. And I just feel that overall that CJ is the best quarterback in this draft. The things he's done on the field, his intangibles, his story, the chip that he has to have on his shoulder when going out there playing, knowing his story and the situation and everything that he overcame to get to that point. He's definitely the guy that should be a face of a franchise. So I know Houston, I think, was their number 2 pick or something like that. So if he's there, I say you put a trigger on him. He's definitely the most capable guy, and I feel that he's going to play a long time, and he's going to be a really good quarterback and a really good asset to any NFL organization that brings him in.
One last thing, you mentioned his size and Bryce's size. I saw a photo when I was looking through photos in the last month or so, and everybody says Bryce Young, he's going to measure at 5'3". Everybody says, he listed at 6 foot. Nobody cares. He's going to measure at 5'3". I saw a photo from that Heisman ceremony last year, and he was standing next to CJ, and he looked about 3 or 4 inches shorter than CJ, which is about what he's listed at. Do you think Bryce is going to come in at 6 feet tall? Do you remember him taking that photo? You remember him side by side with Bryce?
Yeah, side by side. Yeah, I do recall it. I say if I don't think he's who's really small. Kyler Murray. I don't think he's Kyler Murray right now. Kyler Murray's a really small guy. He's not Kyler Murray. I feel like he'll be not as thick as Russell Westbrook. But as Russell Wilson. But kind of similar in that height size, and obviously it's a capable size, right? We've seen guys be successful with it. You guys are in the South, so you've seen how successful Drew Brees was with his size. So it's not like it's the end of the world, but if you just kind of, picking a guy and you're looking at everything everybody could do, I feel like CJ has that size advantage. And then also with throwing the ball, if you're looking at this tape on all the places that CJ could put a ball in, it's just, to me, I'm biased. It's you can't compare it. He's the guy that can get the ball all across the field. No matter what you try to take away, he can get the ball to that place that's still open, and he will be able to kind of diagnose that and be able to shine on the next level with it. So
it's funny you mentioned Drew Brees, because I know that CJ studied Drew Brees when he was in high school, and that's one of his guys. Let me ask you this. How can people follow you guys, Bryant? Because I want to tell everybody, go check out your podcast. It's Bleav in Buckeyes.
Yeah, Bleav in Buckeyes. So Bleav is BLEAV, Bleav in Buckeyes. We are on Apple. We are on Spotify. We also put our shows up on YouTube as well. So if you search us, our shows that come up under the Bleav Sports Network, their channel. So you can follow me on Twitter at BR_Browning. Not a huge tweet guy, but I do love to talk Buckeyes, love to talk sports. So always feel free to check out our show. We keep it really interesting. My partner, Chimney Checkler, that's my college roommate, so we're really close. So it's a really loose show. We have a lot of fun, and we just kind of talk about how things were when we in school, how things are now, the big differences with NIL and the transfer portal, how that changes everything. So we really kind of dive into it and have a good time on the show as well. So definitely check us out. We'd love to hear from you guys. Always feel free to DM me. Feel free to DM Chimney as well. We just love to interact with fans. Basically, I know we stick to college sports, we stick to Ohio State, but we can't get into anything. So just feel free to reach out, and we'd love to talk with you guys.
Yeah, Bryant's Twitter handle, if you forget, it's on the screen. I'll put it in the show notes as well. If you want to get in touch with him as a Texan fan, if there's a question that I forgot to ask him that you want to ask him about CJ Stroud, hit him up. I'm sure he'll want to hear from you guys. And we can't thank you enough for taking the time with us today and talking a little bit about CJ Stroud. We're looking forward to getting a quarterback, either him or Bryce Young, we're hoping for with that second pick in the draft. And I can't wait if either guy showed up. I'm super excited about either one of these guys.
Yeah, and I understand that. I mean, obviously, last couple of years almost, and I'm not going to get into it. I know you have talked about it. It seemed like that Houston was really trying to win so many games, the way they kind of done certain things. But, now it's the time. They got a young coach in there, really capable, and I'm sure, they're ready to make some changes so they can win some games and get back to being competitive in the South. So looking forward to Houston. And I just so happened, I didn't really think about it, but I did throw on a Houston Texas sweater here, matching the team colors perfectly. So, good luck this season to you guys. And good luck in the offseason and good luck in the draft.
Thanks so much, man. Bleav in Buckeyes, Bryant Browning. Thanks, brother.
All right, thanks.
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.
Hey, don't forget to support us by subscribing and commenting on YouTube. You can always listen to us on Spotify, Apple, or your favorite podcast app. Tell your friends about us and share our show links on social media. Spread the word, everybody. Thanks for listening.